All right, so buckle up because we are diving deep into the life of Henry Kissinger.
Ooh, this is a big one.
It is, it is. We've got a ton of material to cover. We've got documentaries and interviews from all over YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the People Profiles, DW documentary, Lex clips.
Oh, even Democracy Now!
Yeah, even Democracy Now! Right, so we're getting a whole spectrum of views.
That's going to be really interesting to see how they all differ.
Yeah, and trust me, you need multiple perspectives when talking about Kissinger. This guy, I mean, talk about a life story, right?
It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
Even decades later, Kissinger is one of those figures who just sparks such intense debate.
Right.
I mean, was he a brilliant strategist?
Yeah.
A ruthless pragmatist?
Which one is it?
Or maybe a bit of both?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
It's complicated.
But here's the thing. Here's what I think is so fascinating to me. Kissinger, he lands in the U.S.
Okay.
as a teenager, a Jewish refugee from Nazi Germany, speaking no English.
Wow.
Okay. And then fast forward, he's advising presidents. Yeah.
Shaping U.S. foreign policy.
Unbelievable.
He even wins a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, a Nobel Peace Prize.
I mean, how does that happen?
That is, like, the question, isn't it?
It's a wild ride.
It really is. I think to understand how that journey unfolds, we really have to start at the beginning with his early years.
Okay.
I mean, those experiences in Nazi Germany, escaping just months before Kristallnacht, it had to have had a profound impact on how he saw the world.
Yeah, like you can't even imagine. I mean, his family, they're living a comfortable life in Firth.
Right.
They're like immersed in intellectual pursuits, and then suddenly everything changes.
Overnight.
They have to flee. They become refugees.
Wow.
They start over in a new country.
Yeah.
What does that do to a kid's brain?
Yeah, what kind of mark does that leave on a young mind?
Right.
A significant one, no doubt. And you see hints of that in his later writings. You know, he really emphasizes the importance of power, of security.
Yeah.
And, you know, he returns to Germany after the war as part of the U.S. Army, helping to dismantle the Nazi regime. Uh-huh.
Only to find his hometown devastated.
Oh.
Just imagine that homecoming.
Oh, my God.
Just one childhood friend left alive.
God, that's heavy.
Yeah.
Like, thinking about that, it makes you wonder how that experience, I mean, how did that shape his understanding of, like, force?
Uh-huh.
Like the role of force in international relations.
It's a big question.
Like, were the realpolitik seeds, were they planted back then?
I mean, it's certainly a possibility, but I think his intellectual development really takes shape at Harvard.
Okay.
He's seen as this brilliant yet incredibly aloof student.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know, some speculate it was a shield.
Like to protect himself.
Yeah, maybe masking some insecurity.
Interesting.
And then, you know, comes his 1957 book,
Yep.
Nuclear Weapons and Foreign Policy.
Okay.
And in it, he argues for a much more assertive U.S. nuclear strategy to contain the Soviets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty intense stuff.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
This book puts him on the map. He goes from academic to, like, the sought-after advisor. He's rubbing shoulders with, you know, the political elite. But wait a second. A Jewish immigrant advising a pretty much WASP-dominated establishment on national security at the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
It's definitely not the typical path, right? But it speaks to Kissinger's incredible ability to adapt.
Oh, yeah.
To position himself as an indispensable expert. And remember, this is the Cold War. Fear of communism is rampant. And Kissinger's hawkish stance on nuclear weapons, it resonates with those in power.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's offering them a framework, like a way to manage this existential threat.
Okay, so the stage is set for the rise of Realpolitik. He becomes National Security Advisor, then Secretary of State under Nixon and Ford.
It's a meteoric rise.
Right. We're talking a level of influence rarely seen by someone who's unelected.
Absolutely. And this is where things get
complicated.
Realpolitik, as practiced by Kissinger, it's all about prioritizing national interest above everything else.
Above everything else.
Ideology, morality, even international law. Those take a back seat to what he perceives as the best interests of the United States.
Okay, so we're talking about some seriously controversial actions here.
We are.
The secret bombing of Cambodia being one of the most glaring examples.
Right.
Like the sources we've got. They showed the devastating human cost, the long-term consequences for Cambodia.
Yeah, a lot.
How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, how do you reconcile that with this idea of national interest?
Right, like, is it just...
It's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, Kissinger's defenders argue that you have to consider the context. The context of the Cold War, the domino theory, the fear of communist expansion.
Oh, yeah.
They say these were tough choices made in a very dangerous world.
I mean, but then you have the support for, like, brutal dictatorships, like Pinochet in Chile, Suharto in Indonesia.
Right.
He even authorized the wiretapping of his own aides.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Like, where do you draw the line?
It's a tough one. That's the ethical dilemma at the heart of Kissinger's legacy.
Yeah.
He was a master strategist, a brilliant tactician, but his actions often came at a high price.
Yeah.
And the question is, was that price worth paying?
It's the question that we'll be asking ourselves for the rest of this deep dive.
Exactly.
I mean, it makes you wonder, was he truly a realist, making these hard choices in a complex world?
Yeah.
Or was there something more cynical at play? Like a willingness to exploit power for its own sake?
That's what we'll continue to explore as we delve further into his career.
Okay, so more to come.
But what's fascinating is how Kissinger manages to balance these incredibly controversial actions with some genuine diplomatic achievements.
Oh, yeah, we've got to talk about that. You're talking about the opening to China,
Yeah.
easing of tensions with the Soviet Union?
Absolutely. Those were game changers.
Right.
They really were. And they highlight another key aspect of Kissinger's personality, his audacity, his willingness to break with conventional thinking.
It's bold.
It's bold. He understood how to manipulate power dynamics on a global scale, playing rivals against each other, often with, devastating consequences for those smaller nations that got caught in the crossfire.
Right, yeah. I mean, the Nobel Peace Prize for negotiating a ceasefire in Vietnam, but at the same time authorizing the Christmas bombing campaign?
Oh, yeah.
That's tough to wrap your head around.
It's a tough one. But it perfectly encapsulates the duality of Kissinger.
Yeah.
He could secure peace agreements, but he was also willing to be ruthless in achieving them.
It's complicated.
It is.
And then you add in Nixon's madman theory.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how did he embrace that?
It speaks volumes about his pragmatism, his cunning.
So, okay, let's unpack this madman theory. It sounds intense.
Essentially, it was about cultivating an image of unpredictability, of being willing to escalate conflicts to a dangerous level.
Really?
Yeah. The idea was to scare your opponents into making concessions.
Wow.
And Kissinger, with his deep understanding of power dynamics, was able to leverage that to his advantage.
Okay, so he's playing 4D chess on the world stage.
He is.
But what about the human cost? Like, was it all just pawns in his grand strategy?
That's the question that continues to haunt Kissinger's legacy.
Yeah.
Was he a visionary leader who helped avert global catastrophe?
Or was he a ruthless pragmatist who sacrificed countless lives in the pursuit of power?
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
And this is just the beginning. This deep dive is already feeling like a political thriller.
Oh, yeah, we're just getting started.
Okay, so it's almost like we're talking about two different people here.
Yeah, two sides of the same coin.
You have Kissinger, the brilliant strategist, making these bold moves, right? Like opening up China, easing tensions with the Soviets.
Absolutely.
But then there's the other side.
Yeah.
The secret bombings, the support for dictators.
Right.
Like the seeming disregard for human rights.
Yeah, it's a real challenge trying to understand Kissinger, to hold those two seemingly contradictory aspects together.
You have to remember, his decisions were often made in a very different world.
Yeah.
A world defined by the Cold War and the very real threat of nuclear annihilation.
Okay, but even after the Cold War ends, Kissinger doesn't exactly fade away, does he?
No, not at all.
He builds this whole second career. Author, consultant,
Right.
his firm, Kissinger Associates, advising everyone from corporations to governments.
I mean, he becomes this almost mythical figure.
Yeah.
His insights are sought after by presidents across the political spectrum.
Wow.
You have the Bushes, the Clintons, even Obama seeking his counsel.
It's amazing.
It really speaks to his enduring influence on American foreign policy.
Yeah, but that influence doesn't come without criticism.
Oh, of course not.
There are those who call him a war criminal, who point to the devastating consequences of his actions.
Yeah, in places like Cambodia, Chile, East Timor.
It's hard to ignore that human cost.
Absolutely. And it raises these important questions about how we judge historical figures, how we weigh their accomplishments against the moral complexities of their decisions.
Right, like can we even separate the man from the context, from the pressures of the time?
It's so difficult.
It's a tough one. And, Kissinger himself, he doesn't really seem too interested in engaging with those questions.
No, not
He rarely admits to making mistakes,
Yeah.
often justifying his actions based on that Cold War reality.
Right. It's almost as if he's saying, You weren't there. You don't know what it was like.
Exactly.
Which makes it all the more fascinating.
Right, yeah.
Kissinger embodies this tension between idealism and pragmatism in foreign policy.
Okay.
He forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths about the exercise of power, about the choices leaders have to make when the stakes are so high.
So how do we grapple with his legacy then? Like, why do Kissinger's decisions made decades ago still resonate so strongly today?
I think it's because they continue to shape the way we approach foreign policy. Yeah, look at the U.S. interventions in the Middle East, the ongoing war on terror, the growing tensions with China. You can see echoes of Kissinger's Realpolitik in those decisions.
Oh, interesting.
The prioritization of strategic interests, the willingness to engage with authoritarian regimes, the reliance on military force as a tool of diplomacy.
So these are all hallmarks of his approach.
Absolutely.
It's kind of sobering to think about, right? That decisions made in the heat of the Cold War still cast such a long shadow.
It is. It speaks to the enduring power of ideas and the impact individuals can have on the course of history.
Yeah.
Whether we agree with his methods or not, Kissinger's Realpolitik continues to shape how we view the world, how we interact with other nations.
And how we justify the use of force.
Exactly.
Wow. It's a reminder that ideas have consequences.
They do.
And that understanding history, even the uncomfortable parts, is crucial to navigating the challenges of the present.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So what stands out to you from all of this? Like, when you look at Kissinger's life, his career, his impact, what's the most important takeaway?
I think for me, it's the importance of critical thinking.
Okay.
And the need to constantly question our assumptions. Kissinger's legacy is so complex.
Yeah.
It's multifaceted. It defies easy answers.
For sure.
It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to delve into the nuances, and to form our own conclusions.
It's like you said earlier, it's not about praising or condemning. It's about understanding.
Exactly.
And that understanding can help us make more informed decisions, both as individuals and as a nation, about how we engage with the world.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing process.
Wow, we've covered so much ground here.
Yeah, we have.
From, like, Kissinger's childhood escape from Nazi Germany to his, like, rise as a key architect of U.S. foreign policy.
A meteoric rise.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story that's both fascinating and deeply unsettling, right?
It really is.
Like, it's not an easy story to tell.
It's one that forces us to ask tough questions about, like, the nature of power, the role of morality in international relations, and the limits of pragmatism.
It's not just about the past, right?
No, not at all.
Kissinger's shadow, it's still, like, looming large today.
It is.
His approach to foreign policy continues to influence how the U.S. engages with the world, whether it's, dealing with China, confronting terrorism, or navigating those complexities of the Middle East.
It's almost as if we're still living in the wake of the Cold War, grappling with the dilemmas that defined that era.
Yeah, and Kissinger, in a lot of ways, he remains the embodiment of those dilemmas.
Yeah.
The brilliant strategist, the ruthless pragmatist,
Right.
The man who seemed to operate on a different moral plane.
Absolutely.
And it makes you wonder, could it have been different? Could Kissinger have, like, achieved his goals containing communism, securing U.S. interests, without resorting to such morally questionable tactics?
It's the question that historians and political scientists are still debating to this day.
Yeah.
Some argue that his actions were totally necessary, given the, existential threat posed by the Soviet Union. Others believe that he crossed way too many lines.
Yeah.
That the human cost was just too high.
And what about Kissinger? Like, does he ever express regret?
Yeah. Does he ever have second thoughts about the decisions he made?
About the lives that were lost?
It's interesting. In his writings, his interviews, Kissinger tends to defend his actions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, arguing that, they were made in the context of a very different world, a world where the stakes were unbelievably high.
Wow.
He rarely apologizes. Instead, he kind of frames his choices as necessary, even inevitable.
It's almost like he's challenging us to judge him by the standards of his time, not ours.
Right.
To, like, consider the pressures he faced,
the information he had available,
the limited options he believed he had.
Exactly. And it's a valid point. It's easy to look back from a distance and criticize decisions made in the heat of the moment.
But we have to remember that history is not a simple morality play.
No, not at all.
It's messy, it's complex.
And often tragic.
So where does that leave us? Like, how do we reconcile Kissinger's brilliance with his ruthlessness, his diplomatic triumphs with his moral failings?
I think the key takeaway here is that there are no easy answers when it comes to Henry Kissinger.
Yeah.
He was such a complex and contradictory figure.
He was.
And his legacy is one that will continue to be debated for generations to come.
And perhaps that's the most important lesson of all.
Yeah, I think so.
Kissinger's story reminds us that history is not just a collection of facts and dates.
It's so much more than that.
It's a living tapestry.
Yeah, woven from the choices of individuals, the consequences of those choices, and the ongoing struggle to make sense of it all.
It's also a reminder that power, even when wielded with the best of intentions, can corrupt.
It can.
And that even the most brilliant minds can be blinded by ideology. Or the belief that the ends justify the means.
The cautionary tale.
So what do we do with this knowledge? How do we make sure that the mistakes of the past aren't repeated? That the lessons of Kissinger's career inform our own approach to foreign policy?
I think it starts with critical thinking.
Okay.
We need to be willing to question our assumptions, to challenge conventional wisdom, to really engage with different perspectives.
Yeah.
We have to be mindful of the dangers of power.
The seductive allure of simple solutions.
Yes, and the temptation to sacrifice principles in the name of expediency.
So it's about finding that balance, right? That delicate balance between idealism and pragmatism, between national interest and global responsibility.
Absolutely. And it's a balance that will continue to challenge us.
As individuals?
As individuals, as a nation.
For years to come.
For years to come.
Well, we've certainly gone deep on this one.
We have.
It's been a fascinating, if at times unsettling, journey into the heart of American power and the legacy of one of its most controversial architects.
Absolutely. And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
The conversation about Kissinger doesn't end here.
Right.
We encourage you to keep exploring, to read his work.
Yeah, to engage with the perspectives of his critics and admirers.
And to form your own conclusions about the man and his impact on the world.
That's what the deep dive is all about. Sparking curiosity, challenging assumptions.
And providing you with the knowledge and insights you need to navigate this complex and ever-changing world.
So keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.
Until next time.